Have you ever built an empire, handed the keys to your flesh and blood, only to be tossed aside in your own kingdom? My kids genuinely thought a retired mother had lost her fangs. They were dead wrong. Grab a coffee and let me tell you how I used their arrogance to turn my $900,000 into a flawless digital trap, delivering a financial death sentence to the ungrateful brats who used me. Hello to the amazing audience of James' Revenge Stories, and thank you sincerely for being here with us today. Unfortunately, YouTube has entirely disabled the monetization features on our channel, leaving us completely without an operating budget. If you find today's story captivating, please consider supporting us with just $1 so we can pay our hard-working staff to cover their daily living expenses and continue creating these immersive stories for you. You can easily donate by scanning the PayPal QR code on your screen or by clicking the PayPal link in the description or the comments section below. My name is Sadie Spencer. I am 48 years old. For the better part of 2 decades, I bled over keyboards, navigated cutthroat corporate boardrooms, and sacrificed my personal life to build Viridian Codecraft into an unstoppable enterprise software juggernaut. When I finally sold the company last year, it was a phenomenal exit that allowed me to take a very comfortable early retirement in the sun-drenched hills of Austin, Texas. I was a self-made woman, but my financial success came with a heavy, unspoken price. While I was busy dominating the tech industry and securing our future, my son Julian was growing up without me. I missed his school plays, I missed weekend soccer games, and I missed countless quiet family dinners. The guilt of an absent mother is a heavy stone to carry, no matter how much money is in the bank. So, to make up for all those lost years and to give my 26-year-old son the ultimate head start in life, I made a massive decision. I handed him $900,000 in pure, unencumbered cash. It was meant to fund his ultimate dream, the Apex Biohacking and Longevity Lab. The agreement was crystal clear. This money was to build a high-tech wellness clinic, fully funded, completely debt-free, and secure. It was going to be a kingdom he could rule without the crippling anxiety of startup loans or greedy investors. I gave them absolute space to build their empire. But after several months of total radio silence, I decided to call my daughter-in-law, Chloe, to ask for the date of the grand opening so I could properly attend and celebrate. What I got in response was a heavy, dramatically patronizing sigh echoing through the receiver. "Oh, Sadie," Chloe said, her voice dripping with unbearable condescension. "That was literally a month ago. We strictly invited trendy key opinion leaders and chic angel investors to maintain a very exclusive, high-end aesthetic. Having family there just was not really the vibe we were going for. It is just not your scene." She did not even have the grace to sound remotely apologetic. She treated the woman who financed her entire existence like an embarrassing, uncool relic from the past. I did not scream. I did not argue. I simply lowered the phone and ended the call in absolute, dead silence. The following week, I decided to do some quiet investigating of my own. I drove my modest 5-year-old electric sedan to the clinic's downtown address to see exactly what my life savings had built. I parked across the street, blending seamlessly into the background. The facility was dripping in absurd, superficial luxury. Through the expansive floor-to-ceiling glass windows, I could see gleaming hyperbaric oxygen chambers, state-of-the-art cryotherapy booths, and red light therapy beds that looked like they belonged on a futuristic spaceship. And right there, aggressively angled in the reserved premium parking spot, was Chloe, stepping out of a brand-new, top-of-the-line Tesla Model X Plaid. I waited patiently until I saw them leave for a long, undoubtedly expensive lunch, and then I casually walked into the spacious lobby under the guise of a curious prospective client. The front desk staff paid absolutely no attention to a casually dressed, middle-aged woman in sensible shoes. They severely underestimated who was walking among them. I am a software engineer at my core. I slipped past the velvet ropes and walked straight up to the digital control panels attached to those magnificent therapy machines. My eyes darted across the user interface, and my blood ran ice cold. Right there, flashing in the bottom corner of the administrator screens, was a tiny authorization widget. These machines were not owned outright. As a veteran tech executive, I recognized the back-end infrastructure immediately. The entire system was locked behind a third-party, month-to-month software as a service licensing model. The horrifying truth slammed into me like a freight train. They had not purchased a single piece of equipment. My $900,000 had not been invested into the clinic's hard assets to secure the business. Instead, the cash had been aggressively siphoned off to fund their lavish, parasitic lifestyle. It went straight into buying six-figure electric SUVs, designer wardrobes, and curating a fake, ultra-wealthy aesthetic for their social media followers. They had deliberately trapped the clinic in a massive, unsustainable web of monthly rental and licensing debts, just so they could pocket my money. Standing there in the sterile, neon-lit hallway of the clinic I bought, a profound and irreversible shift occurred inside my chest. The forgiving, guilt-ridden warmth of a mother officially died right there on the spotless tiled floor. In its place, the cold, calculating, and utterly ruthless CEO woke up. 2 weeks later, the forensic audit landed on my kitchen island with a heavy thud. Marcus had deployed his absolute best forensic accountants to penetrate the clinic's digital infrastructure, tracing every single transaction, every hidden ledger, and every deleted email. As I pored over the dense, color-coded spreadsheets, the sheer magnitude of their financial rot was staggering. From the outside, the clinic appeared to be a booming, highly profitable success. Their appointment calendar was absolutely booked solid for the next 3 months, and the lobby was consistently packed. Yet, the actual incoming revenue was practically non-existent. Julian, in his desperate, pathetic quest for internet fame, was systematically bleeding his own business dry. He was handing out comprehensive $5,000 rejuvenation packages entirely for free. Every minor fitness podcaster, every washed-up local athlete, and every D-list reality television personality who walked through his doors was treated like royalty. Julian gave them unlimited access to the hyperbaric chambers and the cryotherapy suites, asking for absolutely nothing in return except a fleeting social media mention and a tagged photograph on their digital profiles. He was literally trading the structural integrity of his business for imaginary internet validation, treating my hard-earned capital like a limitless slush fund for his ego. But Julian's catastrophic mismanagement was only the tip of the iceberg. What Chloe was doing crossed the line from gross incompetence straight into federal financial crimes. While Julian was playing the generous, high-profile doctor for the cameras, Chloe was actively siphoning the remaining working capital out of the company treasury. The audit revealed a meticulously hidden trail of suspicious, recurring outgoing wire transfers. She had quietly registered a phantom shell company under the name Zenith Wellness Retreats. Every single Friday, without fail, Zenith Wellness Retreats would issue a massive, fabricated invoice to the clinic for arbitrary strategic marketing services and brand consultation. Chloe was aggressively embezzling the clinic's operational funds to line her own pockets. And what was she doing with all that stolen capital? She certainly was not reinvesting it or saving for a rainy day. My brilliant daughter-in-law was plunging the stolen money into a massive, rapidly collapsing financial sinkhole. She had developed a severe addiction to day trading garbage cryptocurrency coins. The blockchain ledgers Marcus uncovered showed her chasing ridiculous, unregulated meme tokens, trying to strike it rich overnight and losing tens of thousands of dollars in a matter of hours. Whenever she faced a margin call or a liquidated crypto account, she would simply authorize another fraudulent invoice from Zenith Wellness Retreats to cover her catastrophic gambling losses. When she was not burning cash on digital vaporware, she was funding a reckless, compulsive shopping habit, purchasing limited edition designer handbags and pure silk wardrobes to parade around her wealthy new social circle. Her obsession with laundering money and maintaining her fraudulent lifestyle created a fatal blind spot. Because she was so hyper-focused on draining the accounts before anyone noticed, she completely neglected the actual vital operational expenses of the clinic. Among the mountain of unpaid bills were the core software license renewal invoices. The very digital keys required to operate the advanced therapy machines had been completely ignored for over 60 days. The arrears had accumulated into the tens of thousands of dollars. Marcus sat across from me in my living room, pointing a sharp finger at the final page of the audit. "They are running on fumes," Marcus said, his tone clinical and precise. "The software provider, which our shell corporation now entirely controls, has logged multiple failed payment attempts. The automated billing system has flagged their account for critical delinquency. According to the standard terms of service, in exactly 4 days, the network will automatically revoke their digital access. The system will initiate a hard lockout across every single machine in that facility due to the outstanding debt." He leaned back in his leather chair, folding his hands together. "Legally, the system is programmed to send a final automated payment reminder to their registered business email. If you want to give them a chance to scramble and find the cash to keep the lights on, we just let the system run its standard protocol today." I picked up my ceramic mug, taking a slow, deliberate sip of my warm matcha. The bitter, earthy taste grounded me. I looked out the floor-to-ceiling windows of my penthouse, watching the city traffic crawl far below. I thought about the patronizing sigh Chloe gave me on the phone. I thought about Julian handing away my legacy to strangers just to feel important. "No," I said softly, setting the mug down. "Do not send a single reminder. Do not flag their accounts. Do not give them a single ounce of warning. I want you to override the automated email protocol immediately." Marcus smirked, clearly approving of the ruthless directive. "Understood. We will maintain total radio silence. Let the machine run until it burns through the very last drop of fuel," I commanded, staring coldly at the forensic report. "I want them to feel the exact moment the engine explodes." The atmosphere inside the clinic that fateful Friday afternoon was electric, vibrating with the kind of manufactured hype that only social media could generate. At exactly 2 o'clock, a massive fitness influencer with a verified audience of over 5 million followers swaggered through the front glass doors. He was a towering mountain of muscle, trailed by a dedicated camera crew capturing his every move for a heavily promoted, exclusive live stream broadcast. This was supposed to be the clinic's crowning digital moment, a highly orchestrated public relations stunt featuring their state-of-the-art cryotherapy suite. Julian was entirely in his element. He strode into the designated therapy room wearing a custom-tailored designer lab coat that probably cost more than most people made in a week. His hair was perfectly styled, his teeth blindingly white under the aggressive glare of the professional ring lights. He flashed a practiced, arrogant smile directly at the camera, addressing the hundreds of thousands of live viewers currently flooding the chat with excited comments. Julian confidently explained the revolutionary cellular benefits of the ultra-low temperatures, gesturing grandly toward the sleek, futuristic pod as if he had invented the technology himself. He was completely intoxicated by the attention, entirely unaware that he was standing on a digital landmine. Exactly 10 miles away, the air in my penthouse was cool, quiet, and completely still. I sat comfortably at my massive oak dining table, a sleek black laptop open in front of me. On my secondary monitor, I had the Fitness Stars live stream pulled up, watching my son perform his arrogant charade in real time. On my primary screen, a secure command terminal was open, connected directly to the back-end infrastructure of the clinic's operating system. On the broadcast, Julian instructed the muscular influencer to step inside the sleek cryotherapy chamber. The camera zoomed in tightly on Julian's manicured hand as he dramatically reached out to initiate the sequence. "Prepare to experience the absolute apex of modern human optimization," Julian boasted to the massive live audience, his finger hovering right above the glowing green start icon on the digital interface. At that exact fraction of a second, I calmly typed a final override command into my terminal and hit the enter key. The effect was instantaneous and absolutely devastating. Through the live stream feed, I heard the heavy, mechanical hum of the cryotherapy chamber suddenly grind to a sickening halt. The ambient blue LED lights lining the walls of the therapy room flickered violently and then died completely. Every single advanced machine in the entire facility powered down in unison, plunging the high-tech wellness center into an eerie, mechanical silence. Then, the true humiliation began. The massive digital interface on the cryotherapy pod, along with every other control monitor in the building, suddenly flared back to life. But they were no longer displaying temperature controls or wellness graphics. Instead, the screens began to flash violently in a blinding, aggressive crimson red. Stamped across every single monitor in bold, inescapable block letters was a brutal, automated message. Account locked due to financial contract violation. The camera crew, caught completely off guard, instantly zoomed in on the flashing red error screen. The fitness influencer, who was shivering inside a suddenly useless metal tube, pushed the heavy glass door open and stepped out, looking incredibly confused and then rapidly furious. He stared at the glaring red text, then turned his massive frame toward Julian. "Are you kidding me right now?" the influencer barked, his voice echoing loudly through the live microphones. He pointed a thick finger directly at the flashing financial warning. "You brought me and my entire crew down here, hyping up this luxury biohacking experience, and your machines are locked because you cannot even pay your basic bills." Julian's face drained of all color, turning a sickening shade of pale gray. He stammered frantically, his hands waving in the air as he desperately tried to block the camera lens. "No, wait, this is just a minor glitch, a simple software error. Please turn the camera off." But the damage was already permanently recorded. The live chat on the side of the screen exploded into a chaotic frenzy of mockery and digital laughter. Hundreds of thousands of viewers were watching my son get exposed as a total fraud in real time. The fitness star grabbed his gym bag in sheer disgust. "Do not touch my camera," the influencer growled, staring Julian down with absolute contempt. "You are a complete joke. You are running a broke, pathetic scam." Without another word, the star stormed out of the clinic, his camera crew jogging backward to capture every humiliating second of his exit. In less than 3 minutes, the clinic's carefully curated premium reputation was incinerated into absolute ashes in front of 500,000 people, while Julian stood frozen in the therapy room, completely paralyzed by the sheer magnitude of the public disaster. Total chaos erupted in the back administrative office. Chloe had been watching the broadcast from her desk. Panic, raw and unfiltered, took hold of her. She frantically hammered her manicured fingers against her keyboard, desperately trying to log into the software vendor portal to manually push a late payment through and unlock the catastrophic freeze. She ripped her corporate credit cards out of her designer wallet and rapidly typed the numbers into the payment gateway. Declined. She tried a second card. Declined. She checked the primary business checking account. The balance was effectively zero, completely drained by her reckless cryptocurrency gambling and phantom invoice laundering. There was absolutely no capital left to satisfy the massive software arrears. Driven by sheer, unadulterated desperation and a profound lack of basic intelligence, Chloe made the final, fatal mistake that would seal their absolute doom. She realized she needed a massive injection of cash immediately, not just to turn the machines back on, but to attempt some sort of desperate public relations salvage operation. Knowing no legitimate bank would touch them, she frantically navigated to the deep corners of the internet, locating a highly aggressive, predatory shadow banking firm that specialized in providing instant, high-interest emergency bridge loans to desperate corporate entities. She filled out a rapid digital application for $200,000. But the predatory lender required collateral for such a massive, instantaneous cash transfer. Without a single second of hesitation, Chloe actively listed the entire inventory of hyperbaric chambers and cryotherapy machines as the foundational asset for the loan. Because the application required the signature of the primary business owner, she did not bother to consult her husband. She simply copied Julian's digital signature file from their shared network drive and illegally pasted it onto the binding financial contract, committing blatant, undeniable federal wire fraud in the process. She genuinely believed she had found a brilliant, secret loophole. She believed the shadow lender would just wire the funds and ask questions later, but she was fundamentally ignorant of how high-level corporate finance actually operated. Pledging leased equipment that you do not legally own as collateral is a severe federal crime. When the predatory lending algorithm received her desperate application, it automatically triggered a routine background scan of the Universal Commercial Code filings to verify the legal ownership of the listed hardware serial numbers. The automated system instantly detected that the equipment was not owned by the clinic at all. The system immediately flagged the transaction as highly fraudulent. As a standard legal precaution, the lending firm's automated compliance software instantly fired off a high-priority legal alert to the actual registered entity holding the title to the lease block. That automated alert bypassed Chloe completely. It shot through the digital ether and landed squarely in the secure, private inbox of my corporate attorney, Marcus Vance. Sitting in his downtown office, Marcus opened the encrypted alert, his eyes scanning the fraudulent loan application and the forged signature. He picked up his phone and dialed my private number. The trap had officially snapped shut, and its teeth had severed the very bone. The very next morning, the heavy double doors of my penthouse were thrown open with such violent force that they slammed against the plaster walls. Julian and Chloe stormed into my private sanctuary, bringing the chaotic stench of their ruined reputation with them. They looked absolutely unhinged. Julian, usually perfectly groomed, had wild hair and bloodshot eyes. Chloe looked like a cornered animal, clutching her designer handbag as if it were a life preserver. "We need your help right now!" Julian screamed, not even bothering to say hello. He marched straight into my living room, pacing frantically across my Persian rug. We were entirely sabotaged. The clinic suffered a massive, catastrophic software error right in the middle of our biggest promotional event. The entire system crashed. It is a complete disaster. The press is going to ruin us. Chloe stepped forward, her voice trembling with manufactured urgency. "We need an immediate emergency cash injection to handle the crisis management and fix the back-end system. We need exactly $200,000 wired to our corporate account this morning. If we do not get that capital today, the entire brand goes under." They stood there, chests heaving, fully expecting me to panic, open my checkbook, and play the desperate, guilty mother rushing to rescue her golden child. When I did not immediately reach for my phone to initiate a transfer, Julian's face contorted into a mask of ugly, manipulative rage. He resorted to the most toxic weapon he had. "Are you really just going to sit there?" Julian yelled, genuine tears of frustration welling up in his eyes. "I am your son. You owe me this. You were never around when I was growing up, and now you are going to abandon me when my entire life is collapsing. If you do not help me right now, if you do not write that check, I swear to God you will never see me again. I will completely disown you. You will be dead to me." He threw his maternal ultimatum on the table, expecting it to paralyze me. But he did not understand that the mother he was trying to blackmail had already been buried under the weight of their deception. I remained seated in my velvet armchair, perfectly still, sipping my black coffee. I did not raise my voice. I did not cry. Without breaking eye contact, I reached onto the glass coffee table and calmly slid 3 sleek digital tablets across the smooth surface toward them. "Pick them up," I commanded, my voice dropping to a freezing, absolute 0. Julian hesitated, intimidated by my unnatural calm, but he slowly reached down and picked up the first tablet. Chloe leaned over his shoulder, her eyes darting nervously. "Look at the first screen," I instructed. Displayed on the first tablet was the original 100-page investment contract they had signed. I had highlighted Section 4, Paragraph 12 in a glaring, bloody red. It was the absolute forfeiture clause. Julian's eyes scanned the text, his jaw dropping. "What is this?" he whispered. "Now look at the second tablet," I continued, ignoring his question. Chloe grabbed the second device. Her face instantly drained of all color, turning a sickening, chalky white. Displayed in high resolution was the complete forensic audit of her phantom shell corporation, Zenith Wellness Retreats. It showed every single fraudulent invoice, every single stolen dollar, and the catastrophic, bottomless pit of her cryptocurrency gambling losses. The ledger proved that she had driven the business account down to a perfect zero. "You hacked me?" Chloe gasped, her hands shaking violently. "I audited my investment," I corrected her coldly. "Now look at the third tablet." Julian picked up the final screen. It was the high-priority legal alert from the shadow banking firm. It displayed the rejected loan application for $200,000, clearly listing the leased medical equipment as fraudulent collateral, complete with the illegally forged digital signature Chloe had submitted just 18 hours ago. Julian stared at the forged signature, completely failing to comprehend what he was looking at. "I never signed this," he muttered, his voice cracking. "I did not apply for a loan." I stood up slowly, towering over their shattered illusions. I looked directly into my son's terrified eyes. "I am not your automated teller machine," I declared, each word striking like a hammer on an anvil. "I am your senior secured priority creditor, and as of yesterday afternoon, every single asset you possess has been legally seized." Chloe tried to speak, tried to formulate some pathetic defense, but I cut her off, delivering the final, fatal blow. "Do you really think a software glitch took down your clinic yesterday?" I asked, a dark, humorless smile touching the corners of my mouth. "The phantom corporation that bought your software debt, the entity that holds the master license keys, the company that locked every single machine in your building while you were live on the internet, is owned exclusively by me. You are completely exposed." The silence in the penthouse was absolute and deafening. The realization slammed into them with the force of a concrete wall. They had not been outsmarted by a faceless corporation. They had been meticulously hunted, trapped, and slaughtered by the very woman they thought they could bleed dry. The alliance of greed instantly shattered. Survival instinct took over, and they turned on each other like starving wolves. Chloe violently shoved Julian in the chest, her face twisted in pure hatred. "You stupid, useless puppet," she shrieked. "You were supposed to handle the business operations. You let your own mother completely destroy us. You are a pathetic excuse for a doctor." Julian practically foamed at the mouth, waving the third tablet in her face. "You forged my signature on a federal financial document. You tried to pawn off equipment we do not even own. You are a criminal. I am calling the police on you right now. I am going to make sure you rot in a federal prison." They screamed at the top of their lungs, tearing each other to pieces right in my living room, completely destroying whatever pathetic foundation their marriage was built upon. I watched the carnage for exactly 1 minute, feeling an overwhelming sense of profound closure. Then, I checked my gold wristwatch. "Shut up!" I snapped. My voice cut through their chaotic screaming like a razor blade. They both froze, panting heavily. I pointed a steady finger toward the heavy oak doors. "You have exactly 5 minutes to get out of my home. If you are still standing on this floor when those 5 minutes are up, you will have to deal with the county sheriff, who is currently waiting for my signal in the ground floor lobby. He has a federal warrant ready to execute for felony wire fraud and financial embezzlement." Chloe let out a pathetic, strangled whimper. She dropped the designer bag she loved so much and sprinted for the door, not even looking back at her husband. Julian stood frozen for a few seconds longer, staring at me as if looking at a total stranger, before turning and fleeing in absolute terror. The trap had not just closed. It had ground their bones to dust. The following week was nothing short of a legal bloodbath. The swiftness of their absolute ruin was almost breathtaking. State authorities and federal investigators descended upon the clinic, chaining the heavy glass doors shut and placing bright yellow notices of seizure across the windows. Every single bank account tied to Chloe and Julian was frozen solid. Chloe was forced to hastily pack whatever clothes she could fit into 2 generic suitcases and vacate their luxury high-rise apartment. Without my capital or her stolen funds to float her lifestyle, she was reduced to taking the public city bus, sitting quietly in the back row, clutching her cheap plastic transit pass instead of a designer steering wheel. Julian did not fare any better. The state medical board initiated a rigorous investigation into his gross negligence and total lack of administrative oversight. Because he had allowed a facility under his name to be used for federal financial fraud, they handed down a crushing penalty. He was permanently stripped of his independent practice license. My arrogant son, who just weeks ago played the elite longevity expert to millions of internet viewers, was forced to accept a grueling, minimum-wage position as a night shift phlebotomist at a severely underfunded, run-down public hospital. He now spends his nights drawing blood under flickering fluorescent lights, desperately trying to earn enough hourly wages to slowly chip away at his mountain of legal fees. Of course, the moment the money vanished, so did their marriage. Chloe immediately filed for divorce, hoping to orchestrate one final, desperate cash grab. She dragged Julian into family court, demanding half of whatever personal assets he had left and a hefty monthly alimony payment. However, her malicious strategy shattered against a solid brick wall. 3 years ago, before they even tied the knot, I had forced them to sign a universally ironclad prenuptial agreement. I knew exactly what she was the moment Julian brought her home. The judge took one look at the binding document and threw her financial demands out completely. Chloe walked out of that courtroom with absolutely nothing, not a single penny of support, leaving her entirely to the consequences of her own catastrophic greed. As for the empty shell of the clinic, it did not bother me in the slightest. I had the obnoxious neon signage violently torn down and thrown directly into a dumpster. I refused to sell the assets at a loss. Instead, I had Marcus leverage his extensive local network to find people who actually deserved a chance. Within a month, he introduced me to a group of 3 brilliant, incredibly dedicated young Hispanic doctors. They possessed exceptional medical talent and a genuine desire to serve the community, but they were practically drowning under the crushing weight of their massive medical school student debt. I offered them the deal of a lifetime. I leased the entire facility, the pristine equipment, and the operational software to them at a massive, unprecedented discount. My only strict condition was that they run an honest, transparent medical practice, dedicated to actual patient care, not superficial social media vanity. Today, the facility operates under a brand new name, thriving beautifully as a legitimate, life-saving medical center. There are no influencers, no ring lights, and no fraudulent longevity promises. Just real doctors doing real, honest work. As for me, I have returned to my peaceful, quiet retirement in the sun-drenched hills of Austin. I spend my mornings drinking green tea, watching the Texas sunrise, and collecting a steady monthly rent from the new clinic. The toxic parasites have been completely uprooted from my life, and the ledger has been balanced perfectly. Justice was served, and the debt was paid in full. Thank you so much to the wonderful audience of James Revenge Stories for taking the time to listen to my journey today. I would love to know where you are tuning in from, so please share your location in the comments below. If you found my story engaging and satisfying, please consider helping our channel with a donation of just $1. You can do this by scanning the PayPal QR code currently on your screen, or by using the PayPal link provided in the video description or the pinned comment. Your generous support is exactly what allows this channel to pay our dedicated staff, helping them feed their families and enabling them to continue bringing you the best, highest quality stories on the internet. Thank you again, and take care.